Howdy everyone, Hot Sauce Z here for another Battlefield 5 video. Well, DICE has gone and done it again, haven't they? Like it, love it, or hate it, Update 5.2 is here, and with it, a ton of controversy. Today, I want to discuss the weapon balance changes that have shipped with this new update. Since this one is going to be a long one, I'm going to include the timestamps in the description so you can jump to your preferred class, or to the TLDR at the end, though I definitely hope you'll stay for the full watch. Alright, let's get to it. It doesn't take a genius to see that the loyal player base that remained for BF5 is terribly unhappy with the recent patch, mainly regarding the changes to the game's bullets to kill, or BTK, which functionally changed the game's time to kill, or TTK. Many players, including myself, felt that the game's gunplay was one of the best in the series, and also one of the best currently on the market prior to 5.2. Now, the hashtag bullets are marshmallows is far more appropriate. I've put in 2 good days of playtime with Update 5.2 coming into this video, so I now feel like I have enough experience with it to go ahead and collect my thoughts for you guys in this video. I did a live tweet thread over on my Twitter account when the update launched, which was a pretty fun way to collect my thoughts and first impressions on Update 5.2. A lot of the thoughts I had during that first day remain true after I have had more time to play, so there will be a lot of similarities between that thread and this video. But enough setup, let's get into what I noticed with 5.2. I play mainly Assault because I'm working on the mastery assignments for that class, so a lot of my perspective is going to come from that point of view. Keep that in mind as we go through things. After playing a few rounds of Frontlines, I felt like I was starting to get a handle on what exactly the new weapon balance was bringing to the game. Let's go through the classes and discuss what I noticed for each. Starting with Medic, in close quarters, SMGs absolutely dominate in 5.2. Every time I would get in tight on an objective with my Gewehr 1.5, I would be shredded by all manner of medic weapons. Yes, if you play Medic regularly, it will feel like it takes longer to kill people, but this is generally the case across the board. Many players who are experienced with a particular weapon will actually sort of time their kills out. You know from experience how long you need to fire that SMG to take the guy down given mostly accurate shot placement. That timing is all off now after 5.2, and you'll have to fight your muscle memory of letting off the trigger in order to get the kill now. Despite the concerns coming into 5.2 about nerfs to medic weapons, it really feels like medic is the new best class in a lot of ways. Many of the objectives and Frontlines, which many people will be playing this week, are small. If you're playing the objective as you should be, then SMGs are the clear choice just because of their rate of fire, and DICE's desire to bring all combat in way closer with these new weapon balance changes. If SMGs aren't your thing, then don't worry. The carbines available to the medic class are stupid strong right now. I got into one game where a guy just kept owning me with the commando carbine. I wanted to know what was up with the gun, so I switched over to it myself that round, and ended up audibly laughing out loud at how easy it was to take people out. This gun is strong right now. It's pretty much a 2-hit kill at most engagement ranges on objectives. The gun also has exceptional hipfire capabilities, so if you're patient and don't freak out while getting bathed with SMG bullets, you will kill most people even at close range on objectives. It qualifies as a really good all-arounder weapon right now. Okay, let's jump over to Assault. 5.2 hit this class a lot harder than it did Medic in my opinion. Like I said before, I tend to run the semi-auto assault rifles most of the time, and the changes are fairly noticeable with the new balance. Up close, it's not too bad of a difference BTK-wise, but it does require around 1 to 2 more bullets to kill depending on the gun and situation. This creates a problem given what I just discussed regarding SMGs. After 5.2, semi-auto assaults will need to either stick to the edges of objectives and try to keep medics at range, or really train headshots up close. You'll need most hits to be a headshot in order to keep up with and beat an SMG player. This makes the Assault class a little harder to master, and in my opinion is not at all friendly to Christmas noobs. It will take a more experienced player to get up in the enemy's face on objectives and run and gun with the Assault class now. Aggressive semi-auto users may feel like they are being penalized for wanting to play the objective in DICE's new balance scheme, especially if they're not able to consistently hit headshots. That's all with regards to close range in the Assault semi-autos. If you step out and try to range things out further with a 3x, which many players did before 5.2, things get even more tricky, or rather downright frustrating. One instance for sure comes to mind with my Gewehr 1.5, where I was attacking an enemy at a distance of probably 30 plus meters, and I landed one body shot, then two headshots, and then finally another body shot took the guy down. Before 5.2, he would have most likely been down after the first headshot, and if not, then the second headshot would have definitely done it in. Not now though, and it again is going to throw players' timing off and the distances that they're used to engaging in. The Assault class is in a new spot for sure. It doesn't quite keep up with SMGs without excellent aim in close quarters, and it's seemingly a pea shooter at ranges beyond 30 meters. There's like a perfect window that the semi-autos will fit into range-wise, and it's just going to take some time for us to find that sweet spot. Moving on to support, I haven't had a ton of time to play this class after 5.2, so I apologize if the analysis is a bit lacking here, but I'll do my best with the experience I do have with it. MMGs have absolutely been destroyed for ranged attacks. I was using the M1919A6 yesterday and noticed that the guns seemed to simply tickle and pester enemies at long range, much more than they used to. Before 5.2, coaxial guns and mounted MGs received a nerf in update 5.0 that gave them this same change. If you'll recall in a previous video, I suspected that the support class MMGs would receive about the same damage model with update 5.2, and I was right. The MMGs we can run around with feel exactly like the mounted ones changed from update 5.0. If you were previously an MMG user, you will notice these changes big time, and you'll probably dislike what I'm going to say next. I like that they're weaker at range. MMGs can't prone up on a mountaintop on Iwo Jima anymore and just effectively snipe people with their high rate of fire cannons. I found that wielding the MMG meant that I had to move into that area just inside of a capture area or right outside of it. The edges are where you'll want to post up for bipoding. Interestingly enough, I also noticed that aggressive MMG usage without the bipod is actually more viable now. The MMG's rate of fire surpasses that of the SMG, so even with the penalty of not getting to ADS, you can actually get the jump on many medics and take them out before their weapons can get you. Not sure if that's what DICE was going for there, but it's something to consider. I admittedly did not try out shotguns or LMGs yet with 5.2, but it's my understanding that LMGs got hit hard. Many folks are saying that it requires most of your ammo before a reload to get even one person, and the ranges are again terrible. If you are an FG42 main before 5.2, you may want to rethink that strategy. The FG42 is broken right now and will certainly need some fixing. It simply has no power, and with such a small magazine size, it's very ineffective. In fact, sidearms will frequently outgun an FG42, which is insane. Shotguns just received a 2-meter nerf to their lethal range, so there actually shouldn't be much difference there. It's probably hardly noticeable. Alright, last class here, the Recon class. This class was mainly left alone. If you're a bolt action user, well then rejoice. Your weapons weren't touched, and you enjoy the same power you had before, but everyone else is nerfed, so I guess you were buffed by default? Bolt actions feel the same in my experience as before 5.2. The difference is you now have the added benefit of more time to line up a lethal headshot because the other classes are simply no longer effective at recon ranges. If you're an SLR recon, then there were no damage changes either, just some rate of fire changes. The biggest changes were to the pistol carbines available for this class. They are another weapon that just kinda tickles people now. Their sidearm counterparts that you can equip as your secondary are stronger, which is just dumb. Finally, the AT rifles are unchanged, so they're crazy strong, and I found myself dying to players using them fairly frequently. So that's what I've noticed for each class given the balance changes with update 5.2. All in all, this update actually isn't as terrible as you'll be led to believe on Reddit, Twitter, and elsewhere. At least not in my opinion. The BTK I don't think is in the perfect spot yet across all weapons, but I definitely don't think it's all bad. It's simply different timing-wise, and I think people's biggest hang-up is going to be their muscle memory from before 5.2, messing them up, causing them to let off the trigger early. Engagement ranges are certainly much different as well, depending on which class you're opting to use, whereas they really weren't that different before. SMGs clearly fit into a role where they're to be used in tight quarters, like inside buildings, hallways, and amidst structures, while being less than optimal in large open spaces. The semi-auto assault and MMG support loadouts are less defined, but tend to fit better operating near the edges of objectives and keeping their opponents at a more medium range. I think this range is very narrow and difficult to find though. If you step even 1 inch beyond it, your weapon becomes pretty useless. If you step too far into it, then you'll have a harder time competing with an SMG unless you have exceptional aim. The Recon class is now the clear master of the longer range, as MMGs and assaults can't really get enough damage downrange to kill you before you can get them. So has DICE accomplished their goals with Update 5.2? Yes and no. They mentioned in the Reddit post responding to your concerns that they wanted to, quote, create a more discrete range for each weapon class. That they have done. I just laid it out right before this. Close range is all SMG now, medium range is for assault and support, and long range is now solely for recon. DICE also suggests that they wanted to eliminate the ability for one weapon to be used in all situations and ranges when they talk about the Sten in that same paragraph. I believe they've done that too. I can no longer just rock my Gavera 1.5 and expect to be dominant at all ranges. Recon beats me at long range, even with the 3X, and SMG shreds me in CQC. So which goal has DICE not accomplished with 5.2? Well, what it shakes out to be is that they actually accomplished what they called their anti-vision, or something they didn't want to do with 5.2. As you can see here, DICE said that their anti-vision was, quote, a change to the lethality and average time to kill of the game, especially at close range and in flanking situations. Anyone who has spent appreciable time on the game after 5.2 knows that DICE did indeed and inadvertently change the TTK even in close range and flanking situations. We've talked about it this whole video that all the timing feels different, not just at long range but also at close range too. So where do we go from here? Well, many people are completely against and unwilling to try and adjust to these changes, and have simply resorted to uninstalling the game and stopping their play to send DICE a message. I myself am going to continue to play because, and this will come off very controversial, I'm sure, but I actually like the idea and goal behind these changes. I think DICE has an idea of what they want to bring to the game in the future, and they needed to make these weapon balance changes to create the framework to accommodate what they're bringing next. I don't think it's the perfect implementation of their vision for the gunplay yet, but they said that it wouldn't be perfect going into this. They said they were open to feedback and would most likely be tweaking things to adjust the new balance further. Because of this, I don't expect we'll see a full revert this time like we did last year, and I'm okay with that because I think the principles behind the changes are sound. DICE just needs to further polish and refine the balance here and there, and remove the hotspots like the FG42 or Commando Carbine issues to really make it shine. I'll go on to say that I loved the game beforehand as well. I was perfectly fine with the gunplay as it was, and if a full revert is in store for us, that's okay too. But you do have to admit that the clear combat ranges we have now did not exist before. I think that the intricacies that having those ranges defined brings to the game are very valuable, and can actually provide a lot more niche gameplay styles rather than just deciding, I'm running the STG-44 this round and that's it. It's going to allow players to experience more of the game, and that's what DICE wants for us. I'll wrap up this video here. What do you guys think of 5.2? And before you answer, ask yourself, have you really considered whether the changes are good at a macro level, or are you just annoyed at a micro level because the way you've been playing for a year now no longer works? It's a question I still wrestle with myself. 5.2 is both good and bad. I hope that's clear as mud for you guys. Anyways, this has turned into a long one. I apologize for that. If you've made it this far, then I really appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to support the channel by leaving a like, and consider subscribing to see more videos like this. I'm Hot Sauce Z, and I'll see you on the next video, or tickling you with a weapon that shouldn't be used at long range anymore, out on the battlefield.